Real Entrepreneurs TV, Emile Hurst Jr., thank you for joining us again. Very excited for our next guest today, Javier Acosta, Associate Pastor at Kenner Celebration Church down in Louisiana. And we're going to talk about how nonprofits, organizations, and churches are moving through the COVID-19 challenge. In addition to that, some tips on how us ourselves can kind of move through this situation. So, Javier, good morning, man. How you doing?
Good morning, brother Emile. How you feeling, baby?
Pretty good, man. Pretty good. So I just want to let the audience know that we were supposed to do this at 5 a.m.
But you didn't want to wake up. I told you. You
didn't
didn't
want
want to wake up.
It was me. It was me.
Nah,
It was
I'm joking. That was all me. That was all me. I told you I don't even hit REM until 5 a.m. That's when I finally fall into my good sleep. So
Gotcha. So Javier, would Real Entrepreneurs TV aspiring and current entrepreneurs, and we do understand that nonprofits and churches are businesses at the end of the day, and ministry still has to make money and to reinvest money. Nonprofit still has to make money to reinvest back into the communities. So what does operations look like for your church now in Louisiana, in Kenner?
yeah, so especially with this COVID-19 crisis, everything has really changed, and we really working now to do everything online, right? Because we're trying to figure out how to not just have church online, not just to have service online, right? But how to be the church and be Christians online. It's very different. Anybody could probably put together some sort of service to play online on a video, but that's not necessarily all we're trying to do. We're trying to still have connection with one another and still have connection with God, and figuring out how to grow closer to each other, but still stay 6 feet apart. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't really do all that. So it's definitely an expedition. I don't think anyone has it completely figured out yet, but for us, it's really shifted into more of a media management type thing. A lot of videos, a lot of conversations, a lot of talking, a lot of just reaching out, a lot of just trying to produce content that's excellent and good, but still be relevant to what's going on. And so I do a lot of the videos. It's interesting to me. I was just thinking about that this morning, how God really prepared me for a time like this, because before I was a full-time pastor here over at Kenner, I was doing part-time youth ministry, and also I was the part-time videographer for our church.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was really my door into being into full-time ministry. I was working part-time, and they said, "Hey, we need a video guy. Would you want to do this?" And I really wasn't an expert at it, but I was like, yeah, I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to do it. Right. And I did. I figured it out, and I learned a lot during that time. And so after all this kind of went down, I had to kind of resharpen all my old videography skills. And I've been using a lot of that during this time, just to film things that can encourage and motivate people, and still, but still figuring out how to interact and talk and build people up personally. Right. And so it's a lot of different things going on.
Good stuff. So now with the shift into media management now, and more of a media experience, what did operations look like prior to COVID-19?
Yeah, it definitely looked really different. It was a lot more, I would say, I was definitely a meeting kind of guy. I loved to meet with people in person, disciple people personally. I've met, just spending time. One of my goals is to always equip other people to become the Christians that God has called them to be, to pull out that potential. And I've met with a lot of people and told them too, which even more so is extremely true right now. But what I found is that in the church, a lot of people, when it comes to doing ministry, their strategy is, let me get my friends and my family members to church on Sunday, and then God will do his thing. And I've always told people that's a really bad strategy. And that's coming to light right now more than ever, right? Because the reality is church important? Sure. Can we bring people to services on Sundays? Great. But the reality is, as Christians, we're called to go and make disciples. As Christians, we're called to go and preach the word and to lead others to salvation. And so we're not called to just bring them to church and let the pastor do it. No, that's our job. It's not the pastor's job to lead others to the Lord and encourage others. It is a part of their job, but it's everyone's job. If you're a Christian, it's your job as well. Jesus told the disciples to go and make disciples, right? And that was a call to all of us. That was a great commission, not just to the pastors. He didn't say after you complete a certain amount of school. He didn't say after you've been a Christian for a certain amount of time. He didn't put any of that on there. He just said, go and make them, right? And so a lot of my stuff was just trying to help people become that and do that. A lot of it was just trying to, sometimes if I'd preach, I'd have to write material. If I was doing a midweek class, I'd have to write material. A lot of it is counseling, personal counseling. And then I dabbled in a lot of our media stuff. I was kind of running some of our social media stuff, but we always talked about how much we wanted to and had a desire to get it better or to spend more time in it. We just didn't realize we were going to be forced into that position through this crisis. So it's kind of, helped us kind of really shore it up. And so that was kind of a lot of our time, is just counseling people, meeting their needs where they were, following up with people, building leaders, trying to start more life groups. A lot of it was, personal, interactions with people, and that's kind of all shifted in another direction. So it's really kind of, flip-flopped.
Got it. So Real Entrepreneurs TV, we here with Javier Acosta, Associate Pastor, Kenner, Louisiana. For the nonprofit, how about how many people in your ministry, Javier?
Yeah, we had a church of about 1,500 to 2,000. If I give you my Easter number,
Gotcha. But the nonprofit organization that has 50 participants, the church that has 100 to 200. We want to kind of help them. What does a church that size or organization that size for you guys? What does the planning and preparation look like for you during a time like this?
Well, I think those churches have to get tech savvy. They have to. There's nothing. If you're not doing that, you will die during this time, because everything right now is happening online. Everything right now is happening through phone calls, text messages, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Zoom, right? We're talking on Zoom right now. I don't know about you, but I never used Zoom before this. You know what I mean? Like everything right now is happening in that sense. And so if you still want to reach people and encourage people and equip people, you have to be able to do it through online resources. So you have to learn. You have to, you have to, we talked about investing, right? And everything's an investment. You have to invest your time and believe that the return on that is going to be, a good return. And right now is exactly what you need to do. This time that we have, if you're not tech savvy, invest in it. Get a book, watch YouTube. Ask a younger person who is good on that, or ask anyone who may have some stuff like that. Say, hey, can you call me and walk me through some of this stuff? Learn. You got time right now. Learn how to edit videos. Learn how to record yourself. Learn how to do these things. Learn how to set up giving online for your congregation, because I'm shocked by I was really, I'm not gonna say I was nervous or worried. I mean, obviously there's a lot of people right now who's lost their jobs, been laid off. This is a tough time for people. But I'm really, I don't want to say the word is shocked, because I really thought our church would still step up. But I'm just happy. I don't know. I'm excited because a lot of our people still want to give.
Right.
Because, even me as a pastor, I'm not going to sit here and be like, the thought never crossed my mind to say, maybe I should save on that giving. Like that thought crossed my mind. Now, giving is a big, big deal to me. And so I know that I'm sure there's some people who thought to themselves that same thing. Right. But it's been really good to see how many people still want to give and support the work of the Lord, and to support his ministry and support missionaries around the world and support one another. And so you have to figure out how to be able to receive, tithes and offerings online, and make it easy for people. Don't make it difficult. Just make it simple.
And I'm glad you said that. So before you mentioned, for that organizer or for that ministry leader, if they don't adjust, they're going to die, right? So the business side of ministry, what exactly did you mean by if you don't adjust, you're going to die? What is that? what is that? Because we know in the corporate world what that debt looks like, layoffs and breakdown of operations. But being in the business of ministry, what does that look like when things begin to break down?
Yeah, well, I think that whatever church you at, whatever church you have expenses, right? You have
Mhm.
salary that you need to be able to support your family and to
Yep.
support what's going on there. You have rent that's probably due or mortgage that's due, not just on your own home or your property, but the church, wherever church you're at. I'm sure that most of those churches aren't paid off completely, and they're paying whoever they got to pay in order to be there and meet there.
Right.
You might have some light bills, you might have insurances, you might have taxes due. I mean, this is coming in the beginning of the year, so some churches might have that, whatever it is that's kind of coming there. But so I think that you're going to have to pay for a lot of that stuff. And if you don't have some sort of reserves or, and some of those churches too, they might have, if you got a church of 200, you probably have a couple of employees, or you might have two part-time employees, or you might have one other full-time employee. So you're trying to pay their salary as well.
Right.
And I think, me and you, we know the statistics from just taking Financial Peace University and different things like that.
Yeah.
But we know that, I can't remember exactly, but we know that at least half the people in the world are living paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah. With no reserves.
Yeah. I know 70% of people can't afford a $400 emergency. Something pops up that costs $400. They can't afford that, right? And we in an emergency time right now. There's people who aren't getting paychecks. There's people who are missing out on that. And so I think that you just have to be a wise steward of what you got during this time. And for the pastor of those churches, this is really a time to like crunch down, figure out how to get those, how to set up online giving, figure out how to manage your budget and steward what you do have. I became a good steward of my finances when
Hmm.
I was broke, not when I had money.
Yeah.
It was when I was broke. It was when the Lord called me into full-time ministry, but he didn't tell me he was going to pay me for full-time ministry. So I quit my job that I was working, that was providing my salary. And I just started doing full-time ministry, but not getting paid for it. So I was getting paid for like 10 hours a week, but I was putting in 40 hours, 50 hours, 60 hours. And it was during that time that I realized, man, I got to learn how to manage my money, because I went from making a certain amount to making a lot less.
Hmm.
And I'm thankful for that time, because I really learned what it meant to set up reserves. I really learned what it meant to, cut off extra expenses and to live beneath my means. And I think that this is going to be a time for churches to really figure out what that looks like for them as well. How to manage that money and how to come up with reserves and how to be just good stewards of what God has given them. Because we live by the word, and the word says, be faithful in the small and God will make you faithful over the large.
Hmm.
You know, this is that time. This is a time of testing. The Lord is going to test those churches. And if they can rise up and overcome and be faithful in the small right now, be faithful with their time, be faithful with their investments and their budget, I believe the Lord is going to keep blessing them, and they're going to overcome these obstacles.
Yeah. And what is the website for Celebration Church?
Celebrationchurch.org.
Celebrationchurch.org.
Yes, sir.
Celebrationchurch.org. And Javier is the associate pastor at the Kenner campus down in Louisiana. So real quickly, I know counseling is a major component of day-to-day routines for ministry. So are you seeing any different concerns that people are approaching with now about counseling? So is there a difference with what people need to talk about or talk through, or the difference in concerns in these past couple of weeks versus before?
Yeah, for sure. How, marriages.
Yeah.
You got spouses who are forced to be at home together, and you got some spouses who officially became homeschool teachers, and they weren't expected that, and it just creates a lot of. You got people who are having anxiety. You have people who are closer now than ever in proximity, and just because they're closer in proximity doesn't mean they're closer to each other in love or different things like that. So I think you got a lot of people who are just trying to are figuring out now, like, oh man, this is the person I'm married to. We got to have some conversations, and so that creates some of that. And so just talking to some people about that, how to have healthy communication with one another, how to not kill your kids before Corona does. You know what I'm saying? Like we gotta be patient. I know you probably dealing with that too. You know, it's like, man, if
I know
anybody wants
outside so much. We've been riding scooters for 6 hours a day just because I don't want them inside.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. And so, that's the thing is like a lot of the counseling is that, but you got a lot of people who are dealing with anxiety. And one of the things about anxiety is that I've learned recently is anxiety can mess with your immune system. So if you're anxious about catching the coronavirus, you are more likely to catch the coronavirus. You know what I mean? And
You don't know that.
it's a lot of talking to people about that. And what's been good is I've been able to still have a lot of those phone calls. Usually I like to meet with people in person, but I find myself on the phone with a lot of people having good 30-minute conversations about real things, because I think people right now really want to work on them. You're forced to really look in the mirror and say, man, who am I? Because you remove all the distractions, you remove all the things that keep you busy. You are no longer the employee, right? That's not really who you are. You are at home and you are who you are. And a lot of people are trying to look into themselves and say, who am I really? Do I like who I am? And what are some changes I need to make? And so it's been really good to have some of those conversations with people.
Good. So what's been your suggestion with people going through this right now? What kind of like 3 steps, some initial steps to try to think through and live through this time until we can get back to normal?
Sure. So, I'm a firm believer that in every obstacle, there's opportunity. And so right now you have some opportunities. Don't dwell on the things that you can't control. That's probably step number one. Don't dwell on what you can't control. You can't control what the economy's doing. You can't control who's getting sick and who's not getting sick. Obviously, you can practice safe things, but you can't control what everyone else is doing. You just can't control it. The only thing you can control really is yourself. And so work on you. Step one, don't dwell on what you can't control. Step two, work on you. Grow yourself. Figure out how you can have a healthy routine during this time. Figure out how to make healthy decisions. If you've been, I know so many people, myself included, that have said, man, if I just had more time, I'd read my Bible more. If I just had more time, I'd spend more time in prayer. I wish I had more time at home with my family. I wish I had this. I wish I had. You got it. You got what you asked for. You know what I mean? This is the time to do those things.
Yeah.
And so take advantage of that, but be disciplined with it and be productive with it. Don't just, the first week was crazy for me because I was just being reactive to everything. Now that we're kind of, through the first couple of weeks, man, it's time to be proactive. So that's going to be, the next thing really is just be proactive. Be proactive about what you want to do, what you want to learn, how you want to grow. And that's probably those 3 steps right there is don't dwell on what you can't control, figure out how to work on yourself, and then be proactive about it. Go out and actually do it. You want to get healthy, get healthy. You want to start exercising more, exercise more. You want to read more, read more. This is your time to do it. Because I was thinking about this yesterday. I was talking to my wife about it. This time, obviously, it kind of sucks. Like you can't go nowhere, you can't do anything, you can't see the people you love. But I was telling my wife yesterday, I was like, as much as it feels like that right now, especially with church, I can't see my church. I miss seeing my church family so much. It's going to come to an end and things will go back to normal. And I'm sure that there's going to be a part of me that's kind of sad about that, because I love being able to spend time with my family and my kids right now. I'm never going to have time like that again. After all this happens, we're not we're not going to get to be able to do those types of things. And so the question I've had to ask myself is, after coronavirus is over, will I be a better person than I was before Corona? I call it BC. Will I be a better person
before Corona?
before Corona? That's my thing. Like, man, that's my big thing. Like, how will I allow this time of isolation to lead to transformation in my life? It's really like that isolation transformation. Like, how is this going to transform me? And if you look throughout the Bible, you look in scripture, how many of the great leaders of faith had to go through a time of isolation
Right.
to change, right? You have Moses, you have Elijah, you have Isaiah, you have all these different people who it was when they were by themselves, you could call it quarantined, right? That they had these encounters with God. And so that's my thing right now is, man, I want to, I can't, I'm not going to dwell on what I can't control. I don't have control of these things, but I do have control of me. So I'm gonna work on me, and I need to be proactive about it. And hopefully after this is all said and done, my life will look different. I'll look different. I'll have a different outlook and perspective on things. And I'll be a better Javi than I was before all this happened.
Gotcha. And I wanted to close and kind of package up the part of the conversation we had about equipping leadership of nonprofits and ministries. What's one tool that you suggest for leaders in those spaces to kind of prepare and work through the business side of ministry and nonprofit organizations? So I know you mentioned reserves, we mentioned Financial Peace University, but during this downtime, what's a tool that they can either acquire or learn to kind of make them better to move through this and be much better after this?
I would just say to use the resources of people around them. Like call those churches that you see are possibly doing things right, or you see or feel as if they're being successful during this time. You can call me, you can call us, you can email us, you can do any of those things and ask. Just ask, don't be prideful during this time. That's
Mm,
my biggest advice. Don't let pride get in your way right now. Like, let's be humble and ask for each other's advice, because we're all figuring this out together. And someone might have the reason someone else figured it out faster than you did is because they asked. They
mm.
asked someone. That's all that happened. And so ask someone, call people, call as many people as you can till you get an answer on what you're trying to find and figure out. And I guarantee you, if you do that enough, you'll figure it out. So I think just start calling the people that you do know. You can email us, email Javier A at celebrationchurch.org. You can go look at our website. But you can call some different banks and just ask them if they have any thoughts or ideas with the whole nonprofit thing going on. And don't miss out on that. I can't tell you how many times I didn't know someone and I just called around and I got the answer I needed, which led to more and more answers, which led to more and more open doors. And so that's just kind of how it goes.
Gotcha, good stuff. So you talked about now we're in the media management business more than usual, more than normal. So what are some things that has come out of this new pivot or this new shift with media management? Anything new that you guys created or started that didn't exist before?
Yeah, we definitely. Well, we're doing our online services Sundays 8, 9:30, and 11. Obviously, those are available to watch afterwards as well. But during that time, we're just interacting. Like all of our staff and volunteers and leaders, we're just asking them, "Hey, let's be on there, interacting with people, talking to each other." So that's been pretty cool to do and see how that's been impacting people. Another thing we did was we started a podcast that we're calling Quarantine Cuisine, which is talking about come and get fed while you stuck in bed. And that's been getting a lot of good feedback. We just did an episode called The Socially Distant Marriage, talking about how even though we're closer to each other now more than ever, we're not necessarily closer to each other, so it's figuring out how to be closer. And this coming Friday, we release a episode every Monday and Friday.
Okay.
This Friday, we're talking about it's titled "What's Worse, Anxiety or Coronavirus?" And we
Mm.
talk about we talk a lot about anxiety. We have a guest coming on. Her name is Michelle Louvier, professional counselor, and she comes and gives super good practical advice on how to just combat anxiety. Because the reality is, after coronavirus is over, if you still have anxiety, that's probably going to take you out. You know what I mean? So
And what could we
just
see? What could we see those episodes?
you can see them on our you can actually watch them on YouTube. If you YouTube Celebration Church Kenner,
Mhm.
you'll see our page pop up, and we have it on there. All our episodes are filmed. You can check out our podcast on Spotify or on Apple Podcast, and you can definitely look on all those things. That'll lead you to all of our stuff. It's on Facebook too. If you look at our Facebook page, Celebration Church Kenner, you'll find it on there as well.
Gotcha. And one more thing. So is there one book that you recommend for uh the the ministry leader or nonprofit organization leader to help them get through this time?
A book. We always say our best book is the book you're reading right now. And so I'm reading a book called Atomic Habits, which is all about the little small habits we form. And so that's definitely a good book to
Okay.
kind of help with that. But like I said, I think that right now too, people need to be investing in the technology side of things. I don't necessarily know a good tech book.
Mm-hmm.
I always, you can always go to those things. What are those ones, YouTubing for dummies or whatever it is like that.
Yeah.
Those are really good, simple books that have helped me in the past. But I mainly go to just YouTube and say, all right, if you just Google, how do I do this? There's 1,000 YouTube videos to do it. I'm sure you know that too.
Yep. YouTube University.
That's it, man. I'm a graduate. I got an ongoing degree. You know what I mean? Like, get on there and start figuring it out, man. Start figuring it out. Invest in a better computer if you have the funds to do so.
Mm-hmm.
If not, just try to work with what you got. Ask someone to borrow their stuff. The thing is, if you got an iPhone, you can film stuff. You know what I mean?
A lot. Yeah.
So just go from there. Start spending time and doing that, and I guarantee that after a week of doing that, you'll be a lot further along than you were before, and you'll be able to start doing some stuff like that. So yeah,
I agree. Real Entrepreneurs TV. Remember, we have videos that can kind of guide you through those situations as well, with planning, preparation, learning about how to learn, and building those habits as well. Thank you again for your time, brother. Javier Acosta, Associate Pastor, Kenner,
thank you for
Louisiana.
having me. I appreciate you.
CelebrationChurch.org. Quarantine, cuisine, get fed while you're in bed. Looking forward to those episodes, and much success in moving past COVID-19 situation. But thank you for your time.
I appreciate you, brother.